Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are going to be manipulating complex objects. Sometimes you may want to store data in a flexible data structure. A JavaScript object is one way to handle flexible data. They allow for arbitrary combinations of strings, numbers, booleans, and arrays, functions, and objects. Here's an example of a complex data structure. Here we've got a object or a variable being set to our music. It's an array type, and inside of it is an object. It's where there's an artist, Daft Punk, title is homework, release year, and then the format actually has an embedded array in this object. So this is a bit more of a complex data structure. This is an array which contains one object inside. The object has various pieces of metadata about the album. So this is it's like a library with one book in it. It's like a record collection with one book in it, with one record in it. The object has various pieces of metadata. So in here, this is the metadata. If you want to add more records, you can do this by adding records to the top level array. Objects hold data in a property which it has a key value format. In the example above, artists and Daft Punk is a property that has a key of artist and the value of Daft Punk. So yeah, the key and then the value, the key, the value, the key, the value. JavaScript object notation, or JSON, is a related data interchange format used to store data. So this is a JSON object. It looks like a JavaScript object. That's what JSON is, JavaScript object notation. So you will need to place a comma after every object in the array, unless it is the last object in the array. Add a new album to my music array. Add artist and title strings. Release year, number, and formats arrays to a string. Okay, cool. So we're writing JSON for the first time. This is awesome. Now, this is super common, so we are going to do that. Now, essentially, we're just copying here, but I'm just going to go about it a little bit slowly, just for the sake of it. So we're adding a new album, so we can just add the brackets. That's a new album to my music array. This is the array, and we're adding. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is make sure we put a comma here, because we have these comma-separated lists, or not comma-separated lists, but this is how JSON works. We're basically adding to an array. So you could think about it like my music is equal to an array in which we have object 1 and then object 2, right? I'm just trying to make this look as real as possible. So what we have here is an array, which is the exact same thing that we have up here. Now, the big difference between the way that this looks, which I think this is obviously an array, because you can see the square brackets, but this is the exact same as up here. If we were to lower this down and just change the spacing of these elements, you would see that it can be formatted to look like this. Now you might be starting to see the similarities. So the thing that we were missing here is a comma here. That's really important. And these kinds of things really hang people up at the beginning. So I hope that me going through this little process of why this is an array, because arrays probably look really familiar to you now, and then there's objects within the array. And so that's why we need to put a comma here and then begin a new album. And so if we're going to keep with the style up here, what we want to do is add an album to my music array. And I'm just going to get rid of this now because it's not as important. Add a new album to my music array. Add artist. We're going to add artist. And title, strings. Release year, number, and formats. And a formats array of strings. Okay, awesome. So the artist is equal to Jimi Hendrix. The title is going to be equal to experience And I hope I spelled that right. The release year is going to be equal to, I'm totally guessing, 1970, 66 or 60. Yeah, I don't know. And a formats. But you see, it says, and a formats array. So it needs to be an array of strings. So we're going to create an array like this. Up here, they started their array, and then they did this double indentation. So we're going to copy that format. And let's just say CD and vinyl. And I've added a comma there, but I don't need a comma at the end because this is the last bit. Okay, so that's all that it asks. It doesn't ask for us to put this gold element in there. So yeah, if I run the tests, let's see what happens. Great, they passed. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. One thing that's cool, we could also test our things. If we were having a hard time, we could console log my music. And then it's just telling us it's an object. If we were to do my music, we know that this is an array, right? So if we wanted to know how many records were in there, we could say dot length. And that, okay, so that gives us 2 because there's 2 elements here. This is the first one, and then this is the second one. If I'm to comment this out, we would end up with 1 because it's only reading this part of it. And so, yeah, I'll comment it back in my music. We could say and the first album and the artist. Here it says Billy Joel. Why? Because I'm going my music, and then the first position, which is this position. This is 1. This one's on 2. This is 0. This one's on 1. And then say the artist becomes Billy Joel. So it's Billy Joel. If we do artist 1, we're getting Jimi Hendrix. So that's just another way to think about it. Hope this helps, and we'll see you in the next lesson.